Tires, start your engine!
Tuning up your work week, it's MRN Motorsports Monday, presented by Outback Steakhouse. And brought to you by Hercules Tires and Grunt Style Apparel. Sitting in for Joey and Woody, here is your host, Tyler Burnett.
We have slightly more hair on this edition of the Motorsports Monday as Joey Meyer and Woody Kame are on assignment in Bristol as the Cup race rained out. Very close to halfway, but we did not get there. Kyle Larson leads. We'll talk more about that later. You might also see that Spencer Gallagher is here in studio. The first top 5 for him in the Xfinity Series on Saturday. Man, what a race!
That was a race and a half. I'm telling you, that was the most fun Bristol race I've ever been a part of. And man, what a day for our GMS racing crew. They brought the heat from square one. We had a great car, and we were able to execute in the race. I couldn't be more proud of them. Ryan
Preece wins $100,000 in the Dash for Cash. We also, and we'll go to this tweet right now actually from Kyle Larson. He tweeted, Christopher Bell would have won the thing if he wasn't wrecked. Here's the tweet. It'd be different if Seabell Racing didn't get crashed. He led 35 laps. I guess the dirt guys have to stick together, right? They probably the only two that run the top of the racetrack during that race.
Oh yeah, they got to stick together. They got to stick with each other. But Christopher was really starting to work the top groove in. It was a shame to see him get crashed out of that race. But I do agree with Kyle. He was going to be a force if he continued in that race. But I thought it was super cool the way the Fitzgerald Glider Kits 300 worked out. I thought it was really interesting seeing Bristol around the bottom again. So. Hate that you crashed out, Christopher, but I think we kept it interesting around the bottom.
Yeah, Brandon Jones led over 100 laps. He sort of fell off there, and the Gibbs cars came alive with Christopher Bell and Ryan Preece. Of course, Ryan Preece won the race. We'll talk more about him in a little bit. We're also going to have Woody Kane on the show from Bristol. He's getting prepared in the frigid cold to race today at Bristol. Hopefully in the Cup Series, we'll have virtually the last second half of the race in Bristol in the Cup Series coming up in about an hour. Before we take a break, we'll do this first. After today's race, be sure to check out planbsales.com to order your diecast of the race-winning car. You can find most race-winning diecasts as well as your favorite drivers' paint schemes at www.planbsales.com. We'll come back. We'll talk more about the Xfinity race. This is Motorsports Monday presented by Outback Steakhouse.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse, blooming great.
Chris Crockett here with one of the heads of our Toyota racing family, Martin Truex Jr.
Doing great, Chris. Thanks for asking.
I hadn't asked, but was about to.
Great second question, Chris. Car feels great, and no pressure because of last year's results.
How do you...
Know what you're about to ask?
Yeah, you're...
Blowing your mind? Relax, Chris. Being out in the lead is what I do best.
That is...
amazing. I know.
NASCAR and Toyota Racing. With a family like this, who knows the places we'll go this season? Learn more at toyotaracing.com. Toyota. Let's go places. NASCAR is a registered trademark of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, Inc.
Grunt Style. The American fighting spirit is in everything we make. We are 500 patriots and veterans strong, bringing clothing manufacturing back to the United States of America. Always moving forward, never retreating, never giving up. We are Grunt Style, and this we'll defend. Get yours at gruntstyle.com or on the track this week at Richmond Raceway.
Hi, this is Austin Dillon. Now back to MRN Motorsports Monday.
Back to Motorsports Monday here on a Monday. It's a race day in Bristol, and it's actually kind of surprising. Spencer Gallagher, Tyler Burnett. Actually, not surprising. We all knew we were going to have some rain this weekend, didn't we?
Yeah, it was unfortunate. I had the opportunity to stay through Sunday and get to hang out at the race, but I talked to a couple of my meteorologist buddies, and they said, no, you shouldn't be in Dodge at that one. So I headed back home. Got to watch it on TV, but it's been great action there. It's just that Bristol race that we just ran, the Xfinity Series, that's the only time I've ever been to Bristol that it hasn't rained on us. So yeah, I guess the Cup guys are getting more of their regular experience.
I actually kind of forgot that it didn't rain during the Xfinity race. It's been raining so much. It rained here so bad in Charlotte yesterday that I thought It rained on the Xfinity race. It didn't. However, Ryan Preece had a shower in victory lane, and that was a cache of money, $100,000 for the Dash for Cash. Our Woody Kane caught up with him after the race. Here it is.
So are you going to try and talk somebody into putting you in a car at Richmond now?
No. I'm going to go back to my normal life of working on race cars, and dream come true. Winning at Bristol Motor Speedway as I was a kid, just playing it on a video game. And, we all aspire to get to this level, and it's not easy. But I've had that no quit, keep working attitude. I've had the people help me to do it. And when the time came, I performed the way I felt I needed to. So it's all about winning. That's all I have to say.
Toward the end, you were chasing your teammate Brandon Jones down, a kind of accordion back and forth a little bit there. Then the caution comes out. Tell me about that final restart and the drive to win.
He had such a good car, but when we got 4 tires there at the end, it made it hard for him to really get a good restart on us and be able to clear us. So, ultimately, it was a good call, good change for the restart for less than 10 to go to get the car to turn, and it did. And I guess my job was the easy part of just getting clear and just setting sail.
What a phenomenal story from Ryan Preece, who's worked his way into the Xfinity Series after virtually dominating the Northeast Modified scene. He's a very good race car driver. He finally gets a chance, Spencer, and he wins $100,000.
Ryan Preece put on an amazing show at Bristol Motor Speedway on Saturday. No one can take that away from him. He deserved everything he got there. It speaks to the strength of himself as a driver and to the strength of Joe Gibbs Racing as a team that they were able to put such great performance together all day. But congratulations to Ryan out there. You earned that one, buddy. It's great watching you progress and kick butt and take names through your career.
Ryan did an awesome job. He mentioned in that piece that Brandon Jones made a mistake, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But before we talk about that, let's play this tweet from Ryan Preece's family. Actually, Ryan Preece tweeted this out. It's a video of his family celebrating. Let's check this out.
Woo!
Shake it up!
Twist it off.
Here we go.
Hold on, don't start it yet.
Oh, it's been started. You're just
Yeah, here it
slow.
goes. Ready?
Let's
Yeah.
go!
No! We'll clean it up, Jeff and Jody.
Let's go, Ryan!
This glass. Awesome job, Ryan.
Yeah! Give me some of this. Go for it.
That's cool. He tweeted that out. But Spencer, we were talking about before that video, Brandon Jones took 2 tires at the end of the race. Why?
I think that was a play that they were trying to make sure that they retain their track position. Bristol is a place where you can try and get away with 2 tires, especially if you can get yourself some clean racetrack on a restart. Get yourself ahead of the field for a 10-lap dash and finish it out. But unfortunately, 4 tires prevailed at the end of the day. He struggled and was falling back towards the end of it. So, it's crew chief's got to make calls every race, and you're either a hero or a zero. So those are the breaks, and it's hard knocks for Brandon Jones, but I'm sure they're going to learn from that and come back stronger.
What did that track feel like throughout the day? How intense was it?
And that was a white knuckle ride. I'm here to tell you, I haven't been that exhausted getting out of a race car in a while. It was hard, man. You're gripped up around the bottom. You're digging there as hard as you possibly can. You're trying to fight to stay in the black, stay in that grip strip. You're trying to bump guys out of the way when you need to and not get bumped when you're trying to save your spot. So it's intense from start to finish. But man, it was a wild ride and it was a great show. I was just happy to be part of it.
There you see Spencer Gallagher finished 5th in the Fitzgerald Glider Kits 300. Ryan Preece, Justin Allgaier, Daniel Hemrick, Elliott Sadler, your top 5, 2 cars from Junior Motorsports in the top 5. Spencer, your first Xfinity Series top 5, that is huge for you, isn't it?
That's a big deal, man. It's so great to be able to finally get that done for GMS Racing and to be able to bring home an accomplishment like that and to get to wear the red splitter and blade for the next Dash for Cash going into Richmond Raceway. So I couldn't be happier or proud of the efforts that my guys at GMS put together. They really brought an incredible car for me to Bristol, and that hasn't been my strongest track. So to be able to get my first career top 5 at a place like that really is something special.
Is it crazy how fast GMS Racing has grown to the top of the sport right now? You got top cars in the Xfinity Series and of course champions in the Truck Series.
It's nuts. I have to wake up some days and just pinch myself to make sure I'm not dreaming. But I think we're starting to follow the progression in the Xfinity Series that we saw in the trucks. Yeah, people forget, but I remember there was a time when we struggled in the trucks too. There was a time where we were worried about missing shows and not qualifying in the races.
Yeah.
And 36 months later, we got a championship with Johnny Sauter. So I think our Xfinity efforts are kind of mirroring that, in that, our first season we struggled mightily trying to find our feet. But it seems like this second season we've really kicked it off well, and it's been a great one for us at GMS.
Y'all just have fast cars, and you got good drivers like Johnny Sauter in the Truck Series too.
Absolutely,
right?
you can't beat out a talent like Johnny, and all the other kids at GMS. Between Justin Haley, Cody Coughlin, Dalton Sargent, and our affiliate and Stuart Friesen, every one of them's top flight.
Yeah, it's so great. It's so great to see Stuart Friesen with you guys, rolling to the front with better equipment this year. Before we wrap up the Xfinity Series, what happened to the racetrack after the Xfinity Series race that made it a handful for the Cup Series the next day?
I think some of the weather's definitely had an effect on that. That PJ1 track bite, it's great stuff, but it's a very temperamental substance. It reacts to rubber or lack thereof. It reacts to temperature or lack thereof. And if you get any kind of moisture on it, it takes a lot to get the grip back into it. So I think that explains a lot of the slipping and sliding that you were seeing the Cup cars doing earlier in the race. That stuff takes time to come in, and until it's in, it's a little angry with you.
Yeah, if you watched our fantasy show Friday, you saw that I thought Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, those guys would be good. The problem is they did not anticipate the racetrack not working at the top with all the marbles. It took a long run for it to come in, and Woody Kane will talk about that with Kyle Larson here in a second. But you basically have to run the track in on the top of the racetrack, almost like a dirt track, basically, where the groove's not in. You have to kind of work it in, right?
Absolutely. It takes a concerted effort of a lot of the driver corps getting up there and getting that blown off, because there was a lot of marbles around the racetrack in our Xfinity race. I think that's why a ton of people didn't get up there. But, in a Cup race, with the longer runs and these guys that are really comfortable brushing the top off, that's sort of what becomes needed. So that's what they do. But, man, it's a tough road to hoe. It's dirty up there, and it is not easily cleaned off.
We'll hear from the leader of the race today at Bristol, Kyle Larson, here shortly with Woody Kane. But first, get your tickets now for the Country 500 at Daytona Memorial Day weekend, May 25th, 26th, and 27th. Dierks Bentley, my favorite, Chris Stapleton, Toby Keith, Sugar Land are just some of the major acts that are going to be there. Do you like country music, Spencer?
Hey, I'm listening to anything with a beat. I'm all about it.
Yeah, that's right. So you can go to the Country 500 if you would like to.
You might catch me there. Never know.
It depends on if you're going to stay and watch the Cup race at Charlotte, I guess. But go to country500.com to find more information. We'll be back, Kyle Larson, Woody Kane, and then we'll chat with Woody Kane on the phone here on Motorsports Monday.
Are you a serious diecast collector? Do you have a favorite driver? Are you looking for a gift for a race fan? No matter what the question, the answer is always PlanBSales.com. Plan B has all the latest in diecast from Lionel and apparel, artwork, and other items for your favorite driver in NASCAR or other forms of racing. Go to PlanBSales.com, key your driver's name in the handy search window, and look at all the options. Your one stop for diecast and other motorsports collectibles is PlanBSales.com.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse, blooming great.
NASCAR Today keeps you up front during the 2018 season.
Our number one goal of any season is to win a championship.
Join me, Woody Kane, each weekday to hear what the stars of the sport are thinking.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what kind of happened.
NASCAR Today. No clicks, no fees, no long lines. Just listen.
So we can get our balance better and get a little more speed. Then I feel like then I could be more aggressive again and try and make maneuvers.
I'm Chase Elliott. Catch NASCAR Today right here.
Hi, this is Jimmy Johnson, and you're listening to MRN Motorsports Monday.
Kyle, a crazy day. What's it been like for you out there, back and forth, up and down, stop, start?
Yeah, it's hard to get a rhythm going with all the rain and stuff, and then getting out of your car, getting back in. Our McDonald's Chevy's really fast. I just like to get some racing going, but then again, I feel like I always do better or do worse, I guess, once the track gets a bunch of rubber on it. So if we keep getting all these stops and jet dryers and stuff to take the rubber off the track, maybe it'll help us out, but feeling good about it so far.
How weird has the track been reacting to all that? I mean, you don't get a chance to get a real feel for it, do you?
Yeah, it's been really slick everywhere, really. There's only a little line there on the bottom that's got some grip. If you get out of it, it's slick. If you get below it, it's slick. It's not going to remain a bottom feeder race. We were all just getting ready to move up to the top. You kind of just wait till you get to traffic, and then you can move up, and everybody's momentum's bogged down. So the bottom's a dominant lane for, 30 laps or so, and then I don't really know if there is a dominant lane after that. You can kind of go wherever you want.
Kyle Larson, who leads the Food City 500 at Bristol currently with about 40 laps to go in Stage 2. Our guy, Woody Kane, who usually hosts this show with Joey Myers, Brad Kozlowski's spotter, is in Bristol right now. Woody, is it frigid cold there this morning?
It's pretty cold, no question. It's it's about 30 degrees here, still cloudy and a little windy, so conditions are going to be much different than what we've seen so far.
Will we see cars on track today, do you believe?
Oh, yeah, I think so. There's some scattered stuff in the area, but as hard as they fought yesterday, I think they're going to get there. All we need are, 46 laps to have it be an official race, and so just with some scattered stuff in the area, I think we'll be good to go.
Now, Woody, obviously a big piece of how this race is going to play out is the status of the track bite down at the bottom of the racetrack. Have you been out there to look at that and evaluate it? What would you say is the condition of it right now?
Well, it's weird. I had heard that, and you may have heard this as well, Spencer, that they had put some additional chemical in it that helps it resist rainfall. It looks similar, but who knows until they actually get on it. And, I mean, you raced in it in really good conditions on Saturday, and most of the guys then were saying it was a very fine line, and if you got off of it, you were in slick territory. So that's what we'll see today, I think, again. And Kyle Larson, as you heard there, was predicting that the upper groove is going to come in as we move through the race, and he and some other guys are going to try and get up there, particularly once they get into traffic. So I think that's going to be a factor as well, and they're discussing about reapplication or something or another like that, but who knows what actually is going to happen.
Absolutely, and I believe with the cold temperatures, it's harder to lay down rubber. Is that correct?
It's definitely going to be an issue with the cold temperatures today. Between getting the PJ1 track bite up to temperature and laying rubber down on it, I think that could well be something that provokes the top line coming in.
Let's hope for my fantasy team's sake the top line comes in, because I need Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch to get to the front.
You know what? Nobody cares about your fantasy team, Tyler. Stop.
Hey, Spencer and I are talking here. All right, no, I'm just Kyle Larson leads. Ryan Blaney actually was the best car, in my opinion, yesterday at the Bristol Motor Speedway, and he ran into the same situation as Christopher Bell in the Xfinity race on Saturday. A few lap cars were in the way. Did you talk to Ryan Blaney after the race, or after his race, Woody?
Yeah, and he was dejected, as you might expect. He led, I think, 100 laps or so before that happened, and really did look to be the class of the field. But I mean, what can he do? There's at Bristol, as Spencer well knows, it's almost like a super speedway in that when something happens, you don't have much time to react, and he just got swept up in somebody else's mess. But he did have a very strong car. They have for most of the year, and they'll move on to Richmond and try to keep the ball rolling.
Definitely. Well, that was a very strong performance out of Ryan. It really seemed like the whole Penske crowd showed up to play at Bristol. Yeah. Woody, have there been any other guys that have really surprised you with the performance that they've put on so far during this race?
Well, Michael McDowell was very fast in all the practice sessions, and even in qualifying, I think top 10 there before he got swept up, and I believe it was the first wreck that he got taken out in. His teammate David Reagan led final practice. Some things kind of got shuffled up for pit stops and the like along the way. But as we go back to green today, Paul Menard riding third with the Wood brothers there. He's had a really good day. Daniel Suarez is seventh, and Ty Dillon is 10th. Those are some guys who you might not expect to be among the usual suspects. Not that they're not good teams and good cars, but we've seen, Kevin Harvick and the Fords be very, very dominant this year, as you mentioned. So I think those are maybe some guys to keep an eye on as we go forward. And the guy I'm watching is Denny Hamlin, a real good short track racer. He's going to restart second when we get going here, and always seems to have a good car at the short tracks.
I like that. I like the Hamlin pick. He's on my fantasy team too, so
okay.
We need him to go to the front here. You mentioned the Michael McDowell wreck, and that was the first wreck of the day. And Spencer and I were talking in the break about how that track was very, very unique at the start of that race, because you had Kyle Busch lose about 7 positions from the start trying to get and try the outside groove. Michael McDowell slipped out of the outside groove and collected a lot of people. Is that due to the Xfinity cars being on the racetrack before them the day before and kind of throwing the marbles up there and not really using the top lane, Spencer?
Definitely. The top lane really didn't come in during the Xfinity race, so the track remained pretty dirty, I think, all the way through the start of the Cup race. So we saw a lot of guys, the first takers up towards that top lane were really, really having to deal with a lot, and it was treacherous out there. Anytime I got forced out there during the Xfinity race, I can tell you from experience, it wasn't a place you wanted to be. So I feel for the Cup guys that are having to break that top line in, but I know they're a brave crowd. They'll get it done.
And Woody, we can transition to the Xfinity Series race there. Christopher Bell, a heartbreaker. We saw a tweet in the first segment from Kyle Larson who said Bell would have won this race if he didn't get wrecked. And Spencer Gallagher agreed with him in the first segment. Do you feel that way? And was it a tough day for Christopher Bell yesterday? Or Saturday, excuse me.
Well, it certainly was. The car looked like a crescent moon by the time they towed it back to the garage. And he got sideways, again, with a wreck in front of him and just could not miss it. But he was very, very fast. But so was Ryan Preece, and Brandon Jones had a really good day. There were a lot of good cars in that race, but I really do think that Christopher Bell had perhaps the fastest car. But as we know, the fastest car doesn't always win these races. He's just really putting together a strong season, the wreck aside.
Difficulty on that last pit stop as the first place guy, Brandon Jones, comes in and he takes 2 tires. It's Woody, it's almost like an option of, do you want to stay with the leader and take the 2 tires and get the track position, or do you want to take 4 and win the race ultimately like Ryan Preece did?
Yeah, I think their strategy was, we got to get him out front and get him into some clean air quickly, and maybe he could run off and extend that lead and make it hard to catch him. Unfortunately, you have the restart to deal with there, and that was the downfall with only taking 2 tires. It was a gamble for sure, and one that ultimately didn't pay off, but you got to give them credit for trying something there. I think they were concerned that if they went 4, they might not be up on that, at least that front row, and that's what they went for.
Spencer, what was your guys' strategy that got you the top 5?
We took 4 every single time. Our thinking was that at a place like Bristol, especially with the way the racetrack was, being a bottom-feeding racetrack, you're going to have to root and gouge. You're going to have to be able both to defend your line on the bottom and to be able to attack others on the bottom. So you're going to want those fresh left side tires to be able to make moves. Right sides is a great idea for a lot of places, but I think with 10 to go at Bristol, unless you can get away and get the lead lap 1, turn 1, right sides is just going to get you used up, unfortunately.
Yeah. Woody, did you see Spencer after his first top 5 and how big of a smile he had?
Oh, I talked to him. He was huffing and puffing. He worked hard that day. It was hot that day, and everybody was really busting their butts at the end of it. And everybody I talked to was the same way. They were all kind of like, I'm glad that's over. It was a hard-fought race.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Well, we're running close on time here, so let's preview what's happening today. We're 40 laps away from the second stage being over, Woody. Is that correct?
Yeah, 46 laps, I believe, is still left. With they're on the laps. They're really 45 or even less than that, depending on how many laps they circulate under before they get the green.
Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Paul Menard, Kyle Busch, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. rebounded after a mistake early in the Food City 500. He's back up to the top 5. Joey Logano, Daniel Suarez, Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick, and Austin Dillon. That's your top 10. Stay warm today, Woody. It's going to be hopefully it's going to be a good race. We'll sit here and watch in the office. Maybe Chris McKee will let us get pizza today and we'll enjoy it.
Okay, don't rub it in. We're going to have media center food, so you enjoy that pizza. It's hopefully we can get this thing done today.
All right, Woody Kane from NASCAR Today. You can hear that today, this afternoon. He also is the host of Motorsports Monday with Joey Meyer, and they have a little less hair than us, Spencer. So we got more hair on the studio today.
Luxurious. We're keeping it luxurious up here in MRN.
We'll come back. We'll hear from the JTG Doherty Racing crew of Chris Buescher and AJ Allmendinger. They'll preview Richmond, where we're going next week, as we continue to talk about the conversation from Bristol on Motorsports Monday, presented by Outback Steakhouse.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse. Blooming great!
Chris Crockett here with one of the heads of our Toyota racing family, Martin Truex Jr.
Doing great, Chris. Thanks for asking.
I hadn't asked, but was about to.
Great second question, Chris. Car feels great, and no pressure because of last year's results.
How do you
know what you're about to ask?
Yeah, you're
blowing your mind? Relax, Chris. Being out in the lead is what I do best.
That is
amazing. I know.
NASCAR and Toyota Racing. With a family like this, who knows the places we'll go this season? Learn more at ToyotaRacing.com. Toyota, let's go places. NASCAR is a registered trademark of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, Inc.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there. Whether you're running on dirt or running a job, our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
Hey, this is Joey Logano, and you're listening to MRN Motorsports Monday.
Joey Logano has his car into the top 10 in the Food City 500, where the Penske cars looked like they were going to be very dominant yesterday, with Ryan Blaney leading a ton of laps. You also had Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano in the top 3, and Paul Menard is even into the top 5 right now for basically the Penske-aligned Wood brothers. Those Fords were fast yesterday, weren't they?
Man, I really think you're seeing a resurgent Team Penske lately. They have been on top of their game. And all 4 of their cars, I think if you want to speak to any of their successes, getting Paul Menard in that 21 and watching him run like he does, I think that really speaks to the strength of that Penske organization, that they've elevated his performance so much, and you know, the rest of their cars continue to run strong. We got Joey Logano running up inside the top 10, top 5, and you know, he was really struggling last year. So I think it's been a great year for Team Penske, and they've clearly been working hard.
And Ryan Blaney added to the 3rd car in the stable for Team Penske, who's probably been the best driver rating all year long, until, of course, he wrecked yesterday in the Bristol. No fault of his own, I guess, leading the race. Before we talk more about Bristol, let's talk a little bit about Richmond. We're going there next week. You're going to be in the Xfinity race on Friday. What kind of racetrack is that place? That thing is tough.
Oh, man, Richmond is cool. Richmond is the lowest grip asphalt surface I've ever been on. You go around that place, and after 40 laps, you're not to wide open throttle until the flag stand on the front stretch. It's so crazy. And I think that really is for really interesting racing, because Richmond is a track that gets really wide really quick, because when there's no grip anywhere, you can go anywhere.
Yeah.
So I think as a driver, that makes it super cool. It's not every day that you see a short track that has got a viable 3 lanes of racing. You can run the bottom at Richmond, you can run the middle, or you can run the rim. And that makes for really, really cool racing. I think it's a very unique place. It's extremely low grip, so it's going to test your patience as a driver like nothing else. But I think it's a really great racetrack. I look forward to running for $100,000 there.
Our 2nd short track in a row. And we're going to hear from the JTG Doherty crew. You heard from the Xfinity side of it with Spencer Gallagher. Here's Chris Buescher and AJ Allmendinger on what they think is going to happen at Richmond next weekend.
You know, I always look at short track racing under the lights. You know, it's kind of what the heart of NASCAR is all about. You know, I think it's fun. I think it's cool the way the lights reflect off the race cars. You know, you get some unique paint jobs sometimes, and it feels like what it should be. Short track racing at night is what NASCAR is all about.
Everyone loves racing under the lights, and we're glad to be able to do it again. I think you go to this garage area, you talk to fans, you talk to drivers, you talk to crews. Everybody will tell you there's just something better about racing under the lights. It just creates a better atmosphere. It cools off at night. You know, we're able to keep a little better grip through a run, which, you know, some people argue either way on what that does for racing, but I like it. I think it looks spectacular. You know, the race cars look so good on track. They're so bright. You know, it's just a different experience, and I think that, you know, you look at the Richmond night race, the Bristol night race, you know, Charlotte under the lights, all these places, you know, just have a different feel to them, and people really love to gravitate towards it.
Chris Buescher finished outside of the top 30 the last time we were at Richmond. However, he was in the top 20 the time before, which had been 1 year ago. In the spring, he finished 17th. Let's talk some more about Bristol. Chris Buescher in that piece, he's already out of the race. He wrecked yesterday, and there were a few cars yesterday that happened to. Chase Elliott is out of it. Likely, he's still running laps, but he's down quite a few laps. Martin Truex Jr. is down quite a few laps, and Ty Dillon. So who do you like today? I mean, we talked about the Fords. We've talked about Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, Denny Hamlin, the three Toyotas that we think are going to be strong today. What do you think we're going to see today?
Man, I think it's still anyone's game. I think it's still too early in the race to call it. You've got about 300 laps left or so. That's a whole Xfinity race. So, I think the Kyle and Kyle show, we're going to see that at some point today.
Yeah, I think so too.
Mr. Busch and Mr. Larson, they've proven themselves pretty accomplished to getting around that place. But just like we were talking about earlier, I think Team Penske's been really strong since they unloaded there. So I think it's still anyone's game at this point. There's a lot of racing left to do.
Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano are going to have a say in this thing before it's over, but I agree with you. The Kyle and Kyle show might show up here. One of the things that Bristol did, the Bristol schools and also as the Sullivan County schools, they canceled school today, and it's not because of the cold temperature. They canceled it because of the race. And then Bristol Motor Speedway reacted, and K through 12 is getting in free today. So you can get in free. What are you in 12th grade, 11th grade?
Yeah. No, I actually just graduated 8th grade last month, so I'm looking forward. I'm going to head down there. But what a great move by the school districts, and what a great move by Bristol. I'm pretty sure they made a lot of kids happy today.
Yeah. So the race is getting ready to come up here in about a half an hour. If you're K through 12 and you are watching this, drive over there and go for free. Right? It'll be fun. All right, thanks to Spencer Gallagher for coming on the show today. Good luck next week in Richmond, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Congrats on the top 5. His first ever Bristol racing coming up in 30 seconds. This has been Motorsports Monday presented by Outback Steakhouse.